Hello and welcome to the Apex Racing League GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV. My name is Sam Fitzpatrick, and alongside me to take you through this round 2 of the championship is Adam Hedgecock with Sam Kumo on the cameras. And Adam, we saw a brilliant round of the championship last time out at Watkins Glen, really close for both race wins. We saw brilliant battles, particularly in the amateur standings as well, further down the order. Hopefully, round 2 is just as good, maybe even better.
Yeah, let's hope so. It was pretty dominant from the satellite racing guys. But as you say, the GT AM category was, particularly close. Very much fun watching it. And as we were just talking about before we went live, let's hope we can have a better start in race 1.
Yes, last season we did have some issues. Hopefully this season it's all fine. That's we've got our fingers crossed. The drivers are in qualifying at the moment, so they've had a 1 hour 20 practice. And then they've got a 10-minute qualifying session, individual qualifying, so they won't be able to interact with any other cars. They'll be by themselves. And they've got 4 laps, which they can set. We'll then go into a 25-minute race 1, which the starting order will be decided by this qualifying session. And then we will have a reverse grid for race 2. We'll spin the wheel, and whatever comes up, we will reverse the grid by that number of places based on the race results from race 1. All quite simple. It's usually a good format. For a word for Road Atlanta, though, Adam, I mean, really is a classic circuit, this particularly in American motorsport. And anyone who saw the Aussie Mixed and Fixed series earlier on the iRacing Esports Network knows how potentially treacherous this place is. However, it's an awesome driver circuit. I mean, that S's section for the first half of the lap is absolutely thrilling.
You have to be really careful in that first half of the lap. The car gets very light going over the top of the hill, and as you say, down through the S's, you need a car that's hooked up because you don't really want to be lifting. You want to be going down there full beans. And then the back end of the track, the biggest overtaking point just before you come into that last chicane. How brave can you be on the brakes? How late can you leave it? If you run wide there just a little bit, you're going to get yourself a slowdown and you're going to lose a handful of time. So yeah, it's a tricky one, but it's a lot of fun to race around here. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a real good test for these guys. I was potentially racing in Petit Le Mans a few months back. One of the last special events actually to happen on the iRacing service, so maybe quite fresh in these guys' minds. However, that was back in October, of course. The just like I said in qualifying, Jawad Karoni on pole position as we speak. Henrik Andre in second place. Tom McMahon in third. Top of the arms at the moment is Daniel Lee, who's on his debut in this series. Signed up, but couldn't unfortunately do round 1, but is involved in round 2. It's great to see 31 drivers at least signing up for today's race, which is really great to see. Do we think this is a circuit where maybe the Evo SR drivers and other teams are going to be able to take the battle to satellite racing? Of course, we've got this long back straight where maybe the toe could be evident, but how do you assess their chances?
I think they've got a good chance. The Evo SR guys showed last week that they can hang with the satellite guys, and they just fell a little bit short towards the end of the race. I'm still amazed that more contact wasn't made between that front 6, to be honest with you. That was a humdinger, I tell you. But I think if, as you say, you stay in the toe coming down into this final chicane, you've got a chance. If people do have incidents, it's quite a short lap here. So there's always the potential for lapped cars to come into play. Have an incident on lap 1. We've seen it done to turn 1 a few times. You get yourself cut loose from the rest of the pack, you can find yourself in front of the leaders, and how will they deal with you at that point?
Yeah, it can be certainly going to be something for the drivers to think about today. As 4 more minutes of qualifying. Currently watching Aaron Powell deal with this section of the circuit. He hits it very well. Always really tricky at the end of that S's section, just at the top of the crest. Anyone who saw the Aussie Mix and Fix, like I said earlier on the iRacing Esports Network, I think we had probably 3 or 4 crashes, and that was a smaller grid than this, so less drivers than this, and really good quality drivers as well. And yet everyone just seems to go off. We saw the leader go off as well. in the early stages and took out 2 or 3 of the other top drivers. And so, so easy to make a mistake. But when you can hitch it up, it is extremely satisfying. Dion Phillips, another new driver to the series, along with Daniel Lee. A couple of others as well. Just looking down the order, Friedrich Nicholt is a new driver. Also, his number is wrong. It's car number 3. Should be a 2 at least in front of his number, but that will hopefully be addressed. There he is in the Porsche. Good to see that car being represented. Still seems as though the BMW is the go-to car in this in the GTEs. And of course, I guess the confirmation recently, Adam, that the GTE cars will get the new tyre model, which, well, could really spice things up for Sebring. Just a few days away, of course, till we get the new tyre model, and well, that's going to really make the drivers think again. Potentially, setups will become useless. The driving style of the cars will be different. The cars will just feel different completely. It's going to be a good challenge for these guys, particularly mid-season.
I can feel it already. The forums on the iRacing site will be aflame.
Yes.
It will be carnage. Can I just say, by the way, before I answer that question, this car, this beautiful Porsche, it's triggering me. I don't know whether the blue line on the back is supposed to be wonky, but my OCD is going crazy right now. It's really doing a number on me, and I don't know why. But it's, yeah, new tyre model. It's going to be an experience. It's going to be an adventure. I can't wait for it. I loved it when it first came on the TCR before they refined it. You know, where the first couple of laps were crazy. It was like driving on ice, trying to minimise your time lost. With manhandling the car around. It'll be great, and there's plenty of time between now and the Sebring 12 hour to, people will get a handle on things. They'll get their setups changed. I was watching Max Beneke race earlier on, and he was saying in his chat, they'll decide a couple of weeks before the race anyway. It's not a rush. They'll figure something out. And if that's the big team saying it, then I'm sure it'll be the same for all us slower guys as well. We'll always find a way.
Yeah, so it will definitely be a challenge. Friedrich Nick's struggling a little bit as well. By the way, is it Nicktel? Nicktel, I believe. I believe he's German. Sam Kume can help us out here. Our resident Finnish / now living in Germany. Is it Friedrich Nicktel?
I guess it would be nicht or something like that.
Okay.
Again, I'm really terrible at pronouncing German names.
Shall we just call him Frederick?
Good idea.
I think that will save embarrassment.
Or just Fred. Sorry, let's call him, Fred. Kevin Boland, the 10 minutes is up and he's just disappeared as he's come across the line. Maybe that was the pole position lap. I'm not quite sure. Kevin Boland, I'm sure, will say that. Instead, he's going to start in 21st place as qualifying is over. And we can go through the grid for round or race 3 of the season. The Mustang pace car, the best pace car, is ahead of the field. Fantastic that I remembered to include that. Henrik Andre then on pole position. Besides him, alongside him on the front row of the grid is his teammate Jawad Karoni, who took pole last time out, only second place for him today. Sai Anja starts in 3rd. Then it's Tom McMahon in 4th. Nick Rowland, the other Satsite driver, in 5th. Then it's Stephen Brumfield, Dennis Eipenberg, Aaron Powell, Paul Smith in 9th. And Daniel Lee rounds out the top 10, top of the amateur drivers as well. And Daniel Lee, a decent amount ahead of the other amateur drivers. However, you can see by the lap time, it is ever so close between everyone kind of down from, everyone down from kind of 3rd down to 7th or to 19th. It's really close up there. So behind Lee is Dion Phillips. Then it's Taj Edwards, Tiago Loureiro, Bob Humphrey, Jeffrey Garzotto, Damian Harris, who was very strong at Watkins Glen, watch out for him from 16th on the grid. Ronald Moons, Tom Stevens, John Gordon, Kev Copeland, Kevin Boland, Craig Jones on his debut, Jonathan Kearns, Derek Holland, Joseph Saul, Frederick Nicht, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Christoph Adriane, Brandon Warren, John Tressida, and hopefully Rob Winter will take the start. However, he did not set a qualifying time. He is on the grid though, is Rob Winter. That's good to see. So he will be the 31st driver on the grid. And of course, like I said at the top, at the top of the Aussie Mixed and Fixed earlier on, it's a long pace lap here. Of course, they could cut the circuit, they could line up on the back straight, but no, we need the full pace lap. Perhaps imitating IMSA. Perhaps I believe that's part of the reason why they do that. Just waiting for Nick Rowland to get onto the grid. As I say that, of course, I've just remembered that he's got a penalty as Nick Rowland after a little bit of a shunt at the start of race 1 last week. As Sam Kume brilliantly demonstrates on board with Dennis Eipenberg, the gap in front of the drivers there. Yeah, after a bit of a shunt last time, getting a penalty was Nick Rowland, so he'll start from the pit lane, which is quite a penalty. However, maybe if there's another shunt, he could find himself in a decent position, but this will probably be quite a tricky race 1 for him.
I think, given the way that this track goes, it's quite a fast turn 1, and then they slam the anchors on as they get to the top of the hill, so he might be all right. I don't think he's going to be too far behind, given the checkup that will happen at the top there. Interesting to see what's going to happen with Brandon Warren. Of course, he had brilliant racing last week, coming from pretty much the back to take a win, and he's starting way back again in 28th this time. So, wonder. Maybe he's just not very good at qualifying, or maybe he's decided, I'm going to challenge myself again this week and see if I can do a 0 to hero again.
Yeah, he was great in race 2, wasn't he, at Watkins Glen? I think he was involved in that big first lap shunt in race 1. So started from the back in race 2, and as you say, went from 0 to hero in that one, and got into the top 10 within a few laps and won the amateur race. But yeah, 3 seconds off the pace, which is quite a big margin around a relatively short circuit. And of course, he is a satellite racing driver, so he's going to have similar setup. So undoubtedly, he will be much faster come the race. So watch out for him starting pretty far down. By the way, out of his 3 lap times, he got invalidated on 2 of them. So maybe that's got something to do with it. Remember, of course, in this series, as we've had in the last few seasons, for every 10 incidents you get 3 penalty points. So if you get 10 incidents, you get 3 penalty points. If you get 21 incidents, you get 6 penalty points. It's all quite simple. These drivers will be hoping not to pick up too many of them today, and instead pick up many positions. So the Mustang pace car still ahead of the field. No pit stops, remember, in this 25-minute race. And it's going to be Enric Andre's decision when he decides to put his foot down. Of course, championship contender, as all these drivers still are. The Mustang safety car comes in, and race 3 of the season in the Apex Racing League GT Championship is underway, and it's a great jump straight away for the pole sitter. McMahon gets past Andra, and it's a great start for Dennis Eipenberg. Of course, with the empty grid, Eipenberg moves up a couple of positions straight away, so that's awesome from his point of view. Jeffrey Garzotto also up 3 places, Loureiro up 3, and Phillips up 2. So plenty of movement up and down the field as the drivers get into single file on the most part. A little bit of side-by-side with, I think that was Garzotto trying to go side-by-side with Taj Edwards. However, he thought better of it and backed out, and now they are really side-by-side. Nick Rowland is, I believe, out on circuit. Has he joined the race? Yes, he has. There he is. So Nick Rowland with plenty to catch up, though. Andre still in the lead.
Yeah, nice clean start from everybody. Much better than they managed last week. A great jump from Andre and Caroni. I wonder if as a team, they do a little countdown to let them know when they're going to go. Unfortunately, Andra got left behind a little bit, and McMahon jumped him into 3rd, so a great move from him early on.
Yeah, and McMahon, that was quite a tall order for McMahon to have to race 3 of them. At least he's got 1 done straight away.
No, absolutely. And if he can just stick in amongst them, cause him a little problem, he might have a shot at the first or second come the end of the race. But everyone's behaving themselves quite nicely. Who's that going? So Kev Boland.
Yeah, so he spun coming out of the chicane, it seems. You see so much contact and so much spinning at that chicane. It's quite remarkable, sometimes by itself, sometimes with contact. And Boland dropped. Well, I think he got a pretty good start, did Boland. He must have been up about 3 places before that spin, because he lost 6 or 7 places, and now 3 places down from his start. The top 5 all within drafting distance at the moment. Jawad Karoni about 1 second behind, in fact, of Anja, so actually falling a little bit further behind at the moment. Having to defend from Tom McMahon.
Interesting to see the pretty much the same as we saw last week. The front pack just pulling away ever so little. If you can stick behind someone down this straight, it is a very long straight. You've got a lot of toe. With Karoni feeling the need to go defensive there on McMahon pretty early on. That's a surprise. Ondra right up behind McMahon now. Really going to pile the pressure on him.
Do you think Karoni's trying to get his teammate involved in this?
It certainly looks like it because, as we've seen, Karoni's an incredibly fast driver. So the fact that he's fallen back from Andre a little bit is quite surprising. But you could be right here. It could be some pretty clever tactics going on.
Well, Anja looks really quick. This is a lot of batsing. That's a cue behind Dion Phillips at the moment. He's up 2 places. Lavero on his tail. Tiago's usually pretty exciting to watch. Also, side by side with Humphrey, I think, getting past was going off the circuit, and Humphrey almost collides with his teammate as well. That was trying to get past Garzotto. As Kearns has a big off, into the wall goes the Ferrari. And now he's trying to rejoin back onto the circuit. Oh, nearly contact. And that was a little bit dangerous there from Jonathan Kearns. It must have been Derek Holland, I think, who just managed to swerve out of the way. Phillips is still under pressure, though. And this almost looks like it's a matter of time, matter of when, not if. Because Loureiro looks a whole lot faster, much faster on the outside going into the chicane. Can he make it on this occasion? Yes, he can. Great entry speed from Tiago Loureiro. And he's up into 10th place. 9th place.
Yeah, great move from there. And Phillips, no respite from him at all. He's now under pressure from Lee just behind him, the AM leader.
Oh, that was a bit of contest as well with Edwards forcing his way through.
That was rather robust, wasn't it? Blimey.
It was a bit. Former driver, of course, in the Apex Racing League British GT Championship, and did pretty well in the Porsche category. I think finished 3rd or 4th in that season's standings.
Surprised to see so many people going side by side down through the S's. That's really not a place you want to be getting offline. It's pretty dangerous. As we've seen, there's already been a little bit of contact through there, which caused issues. But yeah, that's very much a single file piece of track. If you're going to go side by side, you're a very brave man.
Yeah, even when you're racing the intercars with the Daytona prototypes and the GT3s and the GTEs, even then the DPs are usually not encouraged. Personally, as a DP driver, throw that out of the window and try to get past whenever you can, because you might lose a couple of seconds, and you can't afford to lose that. And it is insanely satisfying to just put on the power, use the downforce, and swoop around the outside of a GT3 car. It is absolutely great fun. I do not support that behaviour, though, of course. And certainly in these cars, it's a whole lot more difficult because, of course, you've got the same pace car as the driver ahead. Garzotto really threatening Daniel Lee, who had a brilliant qualifying, but Lee is just dropping back a little bit, still the leader out of the amateur drivers. Because you do score points for your overall position, not your position in class. So whatever positions he can get ahead of pro drivers will be very useful in the championship. But there's another off here for Friedrich, and that's going to be a massive slowdown using the alternate layout there.
Yeah, I wonder if he just got a little bit loose coming up over the hill there. He only caught the tail end of it, so we can only assume. But there's no damage on the car by the looks of it. He'll get back up to pace. He's instantly going defensive, try and... okay, yeah. He's just been hit. He's just been hit by Tressida, I think that is. Is that Tressida?
It is, yeah, in the 233 car. I think Chester waited for him, and now Chester's under pressure. And a bit more contact. Oh, well, this is a disastrous couple of corners for Chester. Now, I believe the BMW is going off. And now Daniel Lee from the lead of the amateur drivers. And I wonder if he's had contact as well. He was under massive pressure from Jeffrey Garzotto previously, his fellow Porsche. And now Lee has dropped to 21st place. Garzotto's now had an off track as well. It's all going on. This is what happened to Lee then. So this is Garzotto just behind him. Oh, I think he's just outbigged himself. And Lee was very unlucky. And now Garzotto himself, I think, has been involved in a crash and in fact has towed back to the pits. So it'd be great to get a replay of what happened to him. And here we are.
Looks like he's had an issue coming down into turn 1. Dive up to the inside. Yeah, he's tried to cover it off a little bit too late there for me. There was no real room for him. The car was on the inside. With incidences like that, you just need to just bleed it onto the outside, just let it happen. But unfortunately, there was more contact. And who's that? Damien Harris having issues with Daniel Lee again.
Yeah, so it's all kicking off now on lap 5 and lap 6. Had such a clean start to the race, and now it's really getting a bit manic out there. And Lee will drop even further down the order. So the leader now of the amateur drivers is John Gordon in 12th place. He's ahead of Bob Humphrey. Gordon up 7 places from his start. So all change near the front of that field and in the midfield overall. Of course, you can see the amateur and the pro drivers, and you can see now the amateur drivers starting to bunch together. Apart from Ronald Moons, pretty much they're all together now onto the circuit, which is pretty good for us to watch because that means that much more for their championships. And of course, also the team's championship as well. These drivers are fighting for.
It's not really surprising. We're starting to see a few little incidents now. I don't mean that in a slight to the drivers we've got out there, but as we've said before, these cars are incredibly close. They're pretty evenly matched. So when you're making a move, you either have to get an almighty run, or you have to be a little bit forceful. So I think what we're seeing here is just a few drivers there. They're got their clean start they wanted. Now they want to push on, and they're just pushing it just that little bit too far, making a little bit more contact than perhaps they want. And yeah, unfortunately for people like Lee, it's causing big issues to the rest of their race.
Tom Stevens moves up into 2nd place out of the amateur drivers ahead of Bob Humphrey, who's trying to retaliate now. Down the inside goes Humphrey, BMW versus BMW, and it is the B team driver who gets past the Evo SR driver. You can see quite similar liveries on those machines. They are related, are those two teams, but there's so many of B team and Evo SR drivers out there that you're not willing to race against your teammates, and you're not going to race against anyone. So good to see that side-by-side action, and that's 2nd and 3rd out of the amateur drivers. Out in the lead, it seems to kind of be expanding and then contracting between the top 2 drivers. Andre battling with Karoni, or half a second ahead of Karoni, as Humphrey comes back again around the outside, and he's actually been able to get back past the B team driver. So good move there from Bob Humphrey. He's inviting a few other drivers along for the ride. But yeah, Andre leads by 0.4 of a second at the moment. In fact, it's even less than that. It's 1/4 of a second, and Karoni is almost within passing range here. McMahon, I think, will be onto these guys pretty soon. And as we saw at Watkins Glen, these guys are going to race. And even if it means potentially putting in jeopardy this 1-2 finish, they are going to race. And now off the circuit goes Andre. And, well, this is just inviting McMahon, who's right on the tail of these guys now.
It was brilliant to watch last week, and this is amazing to watch again. It is, of course, plays into McMahon's hands, with Andre and Karoni having a little battle. McMahon alongside Karoni now, and he takes 2nd position. Is he going to make it stick, or is Karoni going to come back? Karoni, he's forcing him to go the long way around, and McMahon gets it done. Great move there from McMahon, and you could always see that coming. As soon as Andre and Karoni started battling, you always felt that McMahon was going to get himself involved.
Brilliant move there from Tom McMahon, as you were saying, just managed to go to the outside. And Karoni, credit to him, he didn't overcommit. And now McMahon, is he going to go for the lead? He started in 4th place. He's got 2 Satellite drivers down. He's got 1 to go, and it's a 25-minute race, 5 minutes longer than we saw last season. And I think he's got the pace to complete stick in the slipstream. Now, of course, he's got the issue that he's going to have to keep up behind Karoni. That Ferrari, usually very quick down the straights, and the slipstream effects helping him along. Karoni backs out of it though. Not much of a braking zone into turn 1.
You got a feel for McMahon at this point. He's going to be running a very lonely race. He's surrounded by 3 satellite cars. He's going to have to figure out his own strategy, figure out his own way of manufacturing an overtake, while the other 3, I'm sure they're on radio with each other, trying to figure out how to get him out of that spot. Yeah, well, fair play to him for giving it, a fair go to them. But yeah, like I say, it must be pretty lonely for him.
Yeah, certainly. Shame that his teammate Alan Powell, who was super impressive about Watkins Glen, probably the fastest Evo SR driver, despite McMahon probably being the most established, of course, British GT champion and second place in American GT last season, in the GT cars as well, in that American GT last season. McMahon was being beaten fair and square by Alan Powell, but Powell, he's not far behind, he's 10 seconds off the lead, which is not a big gap, and actually matching the leader's lap times, but perhaps just a bit of a disappointing qualifying for Powell, as puts him out of sync. Certainly going to be one of the favourites for race 2 if he finishes where he is. You can see he's quite close to Stephen Brumfield at the moment. Got a brilliant battle right now between Bob Humphrey, and that is for second place out of the amateur drivers. Humphrey has just lost that place then to Kev Copeland, one of the satellite drivers, just in amongst them, Nick Rowland. He starts it from last. Well, great performance this is from Rowland. If it finishes like this, he's, if he can get past these drivers, he's almost certainly going to be within the reverse grid, which will be very good news for him. But it's a lot easier said than done. He's got Craig Jones next to overtake.
Yeah, solid performance. He always felt that he was going to do a commanding drive from the back. We know how quick he can be. Craig Jones just in front of him, like you say, putting up a little bit of defence, going to try and hold him up as long as possible. But you feel that with the class of Rowland, it's just a matter of time before he eventually gets through this pack. Copeland and Humphrey, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in their comms as we see. Jones covering the inside. Sorry, lost my train of thought there. Covering the inside to Rowland, but Rowland sticks it around the outside, and away he goes.
That move's been very successful so far. I'm not sure if it's maybe a bit more banked on the outside of the first right-hander, but if he can get the momentum, then it seems like he can go around the outside at the pair of them. Jones will try to respond, and it's very possible to go around the outside at this next chicane, but I doubt it's really in Jones's best interest. Side by side just behind as well, and contact just behind as well. Sol has to serve a bit of a slowdown as Brandon Warren, who we were watching out for, hasn't had to be, he is up 10 places as one, and could be up a few more because he's got a lot of cars ahead of him. Next up for another place now again for Rowland, gets past one of the Evo SR drivers, that's Bob Humphrey, and then you'll have Stevens and Copeland to get next. So very much, probably 14th. I think the smallest reverse grid we can have is 12. And we also have a 13. So chances are Rowland will be within the reverse grid. That's certainly what he'll be hoping for. As Caroni gets back past McMahon. Back up into second place now is the Satellite Racing driver. And now they're 1 second off the lead. So McMahon didn't seem to defend against that one. Maybe so caught up in trying to catch up to the leader. He didn't decide to defend for second place. Can't come back straight away at Caroni. So it's back to Satellite Racing 1-2-4.
It is, and at this point we see Andre. He's starting to get away from this little group now. McMahon's going to go hell for leather. We know that. We've seen him really ask questions of the satellite guys. Interesting that Andre has just been watching this. He hasn't really got involved so far. It'll be interesting to see whether he tries to get involved towards the end of the race. But McMahon's still doing a good job. We can't take that away from him. Let's just hope these 3 don't lose Andre though.
Yeah, I think they've all got the pace to catch back up to Andre, who's been a little bit inconsistent, at least he was earlier on in the race. I think setting occasional 16s earlier on. At the moment, it seems like mid-15s are kind of optimal pace. Let's just see Dennis Eichenberg, a little bit detached at the moment. Kevin Boland having another off. He's just ahead of Jonathan Kearns at the moment, as I think Andre just picking up a little bit of an off-check. Oh, as round goes to Kevin Boland again. Oh, well, he's had a tricky race as Boland. I think the first incident wasn't his fault, but the last couple have just been self-spins.
I wonder if he's just pushing that little bit too hard, just trying to make up the time that he lost. Very unfortunate. Good to see he kept out the wall, though. He dusts himself down and gets on his way again.
Rowland past Copeland now. That should be as high as it gets for Nick Rowland. He's now got 5.5 seconds to catch up to Ronald Moons. Moons is in the high 16s, I say that, mid 16s. We think Rowland can probably get into the 15s. So he might have a half a second to a second a lap on Moons. It'll be tricky. It'll be very tricky with the time remaining. I think we'll need to rely on a mistake from the Male It's Whiz Racing. Male It's Whiz. I'm not sure what company that is.
I think it's Mail It Wise.
Ah.
I think.
Oh,
I don't know.
Dear me. No, you're right. But honestly, I never went to school. Clearly. Can't read. Cannot read. Apologies for that. Apologies for Mail It Wise.
You're all right, buddy. Don't you worry.
No, I just know that at the moment we've got Jack TW1 listening along. He's going to bully me for that one. We've already established at Watkins Glen that we don't pronounce anything correct, and now he's probably just going to put something really harsh in the YouTube chat. At least Marco Barbanero is watching. That is a relief. So sorry, Ronald Moons still doing well. Oh, Tiago Loureiro off the track, trying to defend. It was from Taj Edwards, and yeah, Edwards got past and Phillips went through with him.
Yeah, it looked like he just got a little bit crossed up going into his defensive braking there, and it's so easy to lose it at that first corner. It just falls away from you as soon as you start drifting out. There's only grass out there, and it's really tough to bring it back in. But again, good to see that there's no contact with any walls, and on he goes again.
It's closing back up at the leads again. Andre's like, yeah, I could win this race easily, but that would be no fun. So the gap's back down to 4.5 tenths. I think Andre's had a bit of a rubbish lap, so he's been doing mid-15s recently. This is a 15.17. You know what? It was just an awesome lap from Kuroni. Only half a tenth slower than his best lap of the race, and so he managed to take out half a second on that one tour of the circuit. McMahon barely within the slipstream now, and Anja is looking quite quick as well. As you're saying, Anja's kind of just waited behind, hasn't been too involved in the race, but could well have the pace to catch up to the top two. Man, just struggling to live with this pace at the moment. But of course, if the top two start biting, then he'll certainly be involved. Further down the order, Craig Jones has got an issue. He's gone off the circuit. There he is, and that's a strange place. Well, you can see the skid marks, I think, in the background. He's lost it going through the final corner, and he's got some rear wing damage.
Side by side as we come down into the last corner. Did he get a little tap?
No.
Yeah, that is unlucky. And then a little swapper. Yeah, that could have been a whole lot worse for him. But yeah, he's still going. And Derek Holland around.
I've just seen Christoph Adriano as well going back to the pits. No, I think that was a normal pit stop for Adriano. Holland, yeah, I wonder what happened to him. It was quite close to another driver, I believe. Still ahead of Kevin Boland and still on the lead lap. This is what happened then. This must be a self-spin.
Oh, he's just hit that inside curb, hasn't he? That little bit too hard. Oh, and then collected on the way through. Unfortunate for both of them. That inside curb is pretty aggressive, and yeah, you don't normally go anywhere near it, to be totally honest with you. But again, I feel like I'm repeating myself. They'll dust themselves down and they keep going, which is great to see.
Absolutely, and they do get a fast repair as well, so they do get some big damage and they can come in for that. I think it was John Chester who made contact with him. Of course, if you want to get within the first grid, you've got to finish on the lead lap. Christoph Adriano, after a pit stop, maybe underfilling the car, he is now not on the lead lap, so he is not going to be eligible for that. The last driver currently eligible is Derek Holland. However, he's under pressure. Lots of these drivers looks as though they're going to be laps, which is strange. You can just see the front runners going through the final corner. Oh, this is going to be close, isn't it? Because We've got 3.5 minutes to go. So it might only be 2 more laps. Might only be 3 more laps, sorry, including this one, but it could be 4.
You're asking me to commit to mathematics again, and well, we established last week that neither of us knew really what we were doing with it.
I've got a C in A-level maths, thank you very much.
Oh, so you should know how many laps you've
I
got there,
really
don't
ought
you?
to, yeah. Simple sums.
Warren making another move up to 16th now. Really putting in the work, although he's still under pressure from Copeland. I don't think Copeland is going to let him get away with that one too easily.
Yeah, Warren up 13 places. 2 seconds to catch up to Tom Stevens. So as long as he can drop the car behind, then maybe could be possible. Stevens just a 17.0, which isn't bad by any means. By the way, if I had to integrate a graph, honestly, absolutely would nail it, no doubt. Differentiate a graph, no problem. Working out how many laps to go, nah, not my forte. But yeah, so 3 minutes. So I think it's going to be this lap and 2 more, isn't it?
I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes to that.
No, sorry,
incidentally,
2 minutes. So this lap and 1 more. Apologies.
we were saying that Warren is up 13 places. That, of course, puts him onto the AM podium,
Yes.
which is pretty
Uh-oh. Warren, he's slow. Is that your first curse?
I think that might be.
Well...
Oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. Did he just... I didn't see any other cars around. Did he just outbrake himself into the chicane, maybe?
I think I saw bolts of lightning, honestly, come down straight on him and spun the car around. Oh, maybe it was contact. No, I think it's by himself. Oh, he's gone in too deep. And then tried to get the slow down. Oh, it was just a slow down. It wasn't a spin. So he loses 1 place and I think lost a couple of others as well. So it could have been worse. But Warren back down to 18th. So he lost 2 places in that. And crucially, Copeland and Humphrey both in his class. He's lost position to those drivers. Edwards, he's having an awesome run at the moment in 8th place with Dion Phillips on his tail. We've got 40 seconds to go. So this is going to be the last lap for the race leaders. It's going to be the last lap for these guys as well. Phillips tried to go for the overtake. It wasn't close enough. Out in the lead though, Andre and Caroni separated by 3.5 tenths of a second. We've got some back markers ahead who will be desperate to stay on the lead lap as long as they've read the rules document, which I trust all the drivers have done so, of course. Andrew's got ahead of McMahon. I think we may have missed that one. But we've now got this last opportunity, and Andre is breaking the draft as much as he possibly can. He knows how quick that Ferrari is. And now on the run to the final chicane, who is going to take race 1 at Road Atlanta? There's just no way past for Caroni whatsoever. And Andre in his BMW coming to the line. Andrew will go to the inside. Caroni will go to the inside.
Oh, no.
The top 2 and spinning round is Andrew. He might still get 3rd. He did get 3rd, but it's Jawad Caroni who wins race 1. The teammates make contact. Caroni wins, Andrew 2nd, and Andre escapes with 3rd.
That was incredible. Did he cross the line backwards?
Pretty much, yeah, but beat McMahon.
He did. Phil for McMahon there. He gave it his all.
Oh,
There's more.
contact right at the end with Smith. And Moons. And Smith is trying to get back underway. Dangerous situation this.
Oh, yeah. Managed to get out of the way before Stevens come through. He's going to come over the line now. Stevens in 2nd in the AMs. Smith finishing and Copeland finishing the podiums for the AM category.
Who did he make contact with? Was it? I think it was Moons, who I think crossed the line. All right. Damien, they're still there going at Patsing. Harris versus Tressida, I believe this is. Yes, it is. Harris gets ahead of Tressida. And behind them is Craig Jones. So 26 drivers then eligible for the reverse grid. There is Craig Jones. We do have a full option. It's unlikely that it will be used. I think we have 13, 14, 15. No, sorry, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then we've got full, and then -4, -5, -6, I believe. So it's unlikely that Jones will be on pole, but fingers crossed. I'm sure he'll have his fingers crossed. So that is everyone across the line, and we can go through the results then for round 3 of the championship, race 1 of the evening. And it's Jawad Karoni who wins out 0.3 of a second ahead of Syanja. Enric Andre finishing on the podium backwards. Would be great to get a replay of that, by the way, in just a second as well. 0.8 of the lead as well. McMahon was in 4th, but a valiant effort from the 126 car. Dennis Eifenberg rounding out the top 5, then Stephen Brumfield, Aaron Powell, Taj Edwards, Dion Phillips, Tiago Louveri rounding out the top 10. Top of the amateur drivers was John Gordon, and it's a comfortable win in that amateur category as well. Really good drive from 19th on the grid. Then was Nick Rowland, who started from the pits, recovered to 12th, one of the favourites for race 2 undoubtedly. Ronald Moons was in 13th, then was Tom Stevens, Paul Smith, Kev Copeland, Brandon Warren, Bob Humphrey, Joseph Saul, Daniel Lee, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Jonathan Kearns, Kevin Boland, Damian Harris, John Tressida, Craig Jones was the last driver on the lead lap. Frederick Nick, Derek Holland, Christoph Adriano were 1 lap down, so will score points. The drivers who won't score points are Rob Winter and Jeffrey Garzotto. So, Sam, it's the reverse grid's wheel time.
Yes, this. Let's see. Wheel is on your screen right now. So we do have 2 times full, but we'll see. As the wheel is spinning. It's gonna be a long spin this time. But eventually it slows down and we get full -7.
Full. Oh, jeez, more maths. All right, so it's not Jones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I believe it will be Joe Saul then on pole position, which is fair dues because he had a 15-second gap back to Daniel Lee. So I think Lee can complain about that one too much. So Joseph Saul should be on pole position. Bob Humphrey alongside him on the front row of the grid. You got Warren up there. Roland's going to be starting in about 8th place. So plenty of opportunities for those drivers. Certainly do check out the race 2 of the evening. We'll be back with the on Apex Racing TV in about 15 minutes time. Do not miss it. Welcome back to the Apex Racing League GT Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Once again, I'm Sam Fitzpatrick, and once again, I'm joined by Adam Hedgecock in the commentary box. Sam Kumo, once again, on the cameras, and we're prepping for race 2 at Road Atlanta. And we saw a good race 1. It was close for the lead. It was close further down as well. I think in this race 2, going to be very interesting once again. We've got another 17 car reverse grid, I believe. Do we expect to see the top guys making their way all the way to the front like we saw at Watkins Glen, or could there be a spanner in the works?
I think it's pretty much as we saw last week. The front guys showed their pace again in race 1 tonight, and I'm sure they'll work together to get their way through the pack once again. Very explosive end to the race. I'm not sure we're going to see the same fireworks this time round, but lots of battles. Everywhere we looked, there was at least a couple of cars battling, even though they were spread out a little bit. So yeah, we should be in for another good race, I think.
Definitely. And on pole position for this race 2 is Joseph Saul. Bob Humphrey alongside him on the front row of the grid. Then it's Brandon Warren, Kev Copeland, Paul Smith, and Tom Stevens on the front 3 rows. Smith, by the way, top of the pro drivers. Then it's Ronald Moons. Nick Rowland starts in 8th place. Watch out for him because the Satsai Racing driver. John Gordon, winner of the amateur standings in race 1, was mega impressive there. Starts in 9th. Thiago Laveri starts in 10th. Then it's Dion Phillips, Taj Edwards, Aaron Powell, perhaps watch out for him as well. Stephen Brumfield, Dennis Eipenberg, Tom McMahon, Enric Andre, Sai Anja, and Jawad Karoni, of course, winner of race 1. 19 car reverse grid. Apologies for this race 2. Daniel Lee led much of the amateur standings in race 1, had a terrific qualifying. However, it went quite south for him by the end. He starts in 20th place, just missing out on the reverse grid. Jesse Payne-Wilkins starts in 21st. Then it's Jonathan Kearns, Kevin Boland, Damian Harris, John Tressida, Craig Jones, Friedrich Nicht, Derek Holland, and Christoph Adriano. 29 drivers taking to the grid for this race 2 of the evening. So Saul starting from the front. Wouldn't say we've necessarily seen a whole lot of Saul so far this season, so we'll hopefully give him some screen time. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to give the Evo SR, the B team driver some screen time. But I guess you raced against him a little bit in American GT last season, Adam. How would you assess his chances of perhaps winning the amateur race at least today?
He was certainly decent last time out when I was racing, as were so many of the drivers in that league, to be honest with you, and so many familiar faces this time round as well, where they've brought their team and their drivers over with us. But I think we saw him a few times last week at Watkins, did Joseph Saul, and he was solid enough then. I don't think he's going to be phased by leading the cars away from the line. Bob Humphrey next to him as well. You know, those guys know each other pretty well. I don't think they're going to be battling too hard. And as you just look back through the field there, you can see very familiar liveries from the Evo SR and the B team cars. I think they'll be working together to try and create as much of a gap as possible before the real fast guys start coming through.
Definitely. If they can build up a gap, then they're going to be in a pretty good shape. Bob Humphrey, what could he perhaps do from second place? If he could take the lead early on. Brandon Warren, who was very impressive in race 2 at Watkins Glen. Very impressive in race 1 here today as well. So many drivers who are starting near the front of this field who could have a chance at winning this race. Leaving a gap to the pace car is Joseph Saul. He negotiates the final chicane. We saw a clean start to race 1. Hopefully we see another clean start here. Humphrey ahead for a moment. Saul, though, goes early as the Mustang pace car comes into the pits. Joseph Saul with a handy advantage, 3.5 tenths of a second across the line. No changes amongst the top 9 places so far. However, it's a good start for all those drivers on the odd side of the grid. We've already got Karoni in the wall, race 1 winner, and he's already got big troubles out there. has got back going though, and hopefully he'll be able to still be competitive in this event. So it's Saul leading the way, Humphrey in second, Warren in third, Smith has got ahead of Copeland, Gordon's got ahead of Roland, so that's a very disappointing start for Roland as a cone becomes detached and attaches to McMahon's car, and that could be troublesome for McMahon because that's going to affect his straight line speed. Watch for that one to perhaps detached later on. That's certainly what McMahon will be hoping for because he's remained ahead of Andre and Andrea, but really the top guy is really struggling to make any progress against the amateur drivers.
That was a nice clean start again from everyone. Shame to see Caroni have issues, but as we've said before, they do get a fast repair in this, so if he is suffering from damage, you can go and sort that out. I do wonder whether or not Sol went a little bit early. They seem to pass the safety car pretty early. Interesting to see if they do have to serve a penalty for that. Warren right on the coattails of Sol already, and Humphrey getting a nice little gap out in front.
Yeah, so Humphrey getting past. So, oh, we got an off for Andre and McMahon and a few other drivers as well who have gone into the barriers. Hopefully they rejoin all right. And that was Boland as well. But that's big news for McMahon. So troublesome for the some of the front runners in the championship. And, well, how much damage has McMahon got on that machine? We'll see what happened down into the final corner. That is a big change. At least the cone is detached, if there's any silver lining. I assume it's detached at least. Let's see. Yeah, so this is Boland. Decently far ahead. They've got a B team driver further behind. Oh, so a gold racing driver has already lost it. And McMahon lost it as well. So it happened a little bit further ahead. McMahon and maybe Edwards perhaps was the driver he got involved with.
I think they've seen the car on the outside. You tend to run to the outside. Oh yeah, you see just a little bit of contact there. You generally run to the outside quite a lot on that exit. So I wonder if they've seen that and just put a little bit too much steering lock on. There's more contact down into the final chicane. Or this is going to cause a check-up. This is need to hit the brakes, boys.
Yeah, that was.
There's cars everywhere.
Warren involved in the initial contact, and now Copeland as well, and they're almost inside one another there. Copeland getting back to the pits, or perhaps not, perhaps just wanting to get away from the action. That was lots of contact. But like I said, I think Warren was involved in that one, batting for P4. And maybe Stevens as well has lost a lot of places recently as well. They're ever so close, and now a bit more contact with, now Gordon's off the circuit. Down at turn 2. All change.
Sitting hopelessly at the top, they have to wait for everyone to come past. Such a hopeless feeling. Who's that with a blown engine?
Jesse Payne Wilkins, I think.
Yes, you're right, it is.
We'll need a fast repair on that thing.
Yeah, let's hope he can get it back. The trouble with these cars, when they start smoking, you're on a countdown. It's very tough to actually get the car back. So he's trying to do himself a favour, not take the tow, save himself a bit of time. But that goes bang. He's got a long tow ahead of him.
Ooh, contact with Phillips and Andre. Phillips trying to defend against Andre. So top of the, Andrea's ahead of these guys. So great start for Cy Andrea, already up into 7th place. He's somehow managed to navigate his way through that. Nick Rowland is up into 5th position, by the way. Dennis Eipenberg's up into 4th. He's up 11 places, is Eipenberg, at least according to my screen. So great drive that. McMahon's up into 23rd now after some of the incidents that we've seen.
It looks like the incident down at that final chicane was mainly the B team and Evo SR cars. We can see that pretty much all of the AMs that were out ahead, bar Humphrey and Sol, are now behind the Pro Pack. So that's really affected the AM category quite significantly.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Loureiro, I think, is got a tough task on his hands. Anja is the first who's going to try to get past him. Loureiro, we know, is obviously a very quick driver. Don't think he's got as much pace as he needs to be able to defend against these other drivers. Moon's under pressure from Eipenberg. He's up another place. Gold Racing Team having a good event here as Thiago Loureiro does move up ahead. And now a spin for Dion Phillips. Oh no, I said he was, 112 car with a bit of contact, I think, initially, and then getting another secondary contact. And I wonder if he's got a bit of damage on that machine as well. Dropping outside the top 20 and in fact turning back to the pits now is Phillips. Will have to use that fast repair to get back out on circuit.
And more unfortunate contact down into that final chicane. It seems that everyone's a little bit too eager. Well, I say everyone. A few people seem to be a bit eager this time around. It is a 40-minute race, and we're only 5 minutes into it. So just wondering if a few people out there need to just take a chill pill, relax, and settle in for a longer race.
John Chester having an off, using that alternative route. We've seen that used already so far today. So he's dropped to 18th place, still up 7 places from his start. Is Chester, so clearly didn't lose him too much time. So Humphrey leads by 4.5 seconds ahead of Joe Saul. Then we got 2 seconds back to Dennis Eichenberg. And then it's Roland up into 4th position ahead of Cyanja. He's perhaps the favourite for this race win now. Up 13 places is Anja. Then it's Moons, Lorero, Andre, Brumfield and Daniel Lee rounding out the top 10. However, he's got Aaron Powell for company.
Yeah, some big movers already. Those incidents have really put pay to some people's races, but we see, Andrew up 13, Eichenberg up 12. Big moves, and it'll be interesting to see if they can continue it on. The field's starting to get spread out a little bit. We can see on the track guide there's 2 distinct packs. Be interested to see if that second pack can close it at all.
Oh, spin for Lorero. Can he get back going before the next pack of drivers arrive? Yes, he can, the 111 car. And he loses probably about 6 positions in that, does Lorero. Was fighting with Anja, or maybe he'd been overtaken by Anja, then had Moons on his tail. So Lorero drops down a few places. This is what happened then. So this is actually Anja on the back of him. Goes to the inside. Lorero, maybe a bit of netcode involved in that one, I'm not quite sure.
It didn't look like a lot of contact, just enough to turn the BMW. Again, he done the right thing, get to the inside early. Those cars coming to the right-hander with a serious rate or not, and yeah, he's back underway again.
Stall has been caught by Eichenberg by 1.5 seconds on that last tour. And now they've got Nick Rowland and Cyanja for company as well. So Eichenberg has got to get this move done immediately, probably coming out of this corner, and so he can break the draft, perhaps going on to the back straight. However, it looks like he's going to have to hesitate and going to be looking in his mirrors as much as he's looking ahead. Does he have to defend into this next corner? No. Eichenberg's been so impressed so far. The 131 car starts down in 15th place. Here he goes. However, again, the slipstream on both of them is Nick Rowland. Will he make this one 3 wide? It's not the widest circuit in the world here. However, this is the widest part of the track. And down the inside goes Rowland. That's bold. Oh, not quite contact. And out of it, Eichenberg moves up into 3rd position. Oh, sorry, Saul doesn't lose the place then. How did Saul come out of that one ahead? And Eichenberg makes no progress.
I was going to say, as I was coming down into that chicane, the satellite boys in Andra and Roland were not going to be shy in giving these guys a hurry up. You can tell just by the language of the card where they're putting it. They want to be getting on with this. They want to be pushing past these guys, and they want to start hunting down Humphrey.
So now Anja does get ahead of Dennis Eichenberg. Ronald Moon's onto the back of these guys now in 7th place. You can just see him in his Porsche. Not too far behind either is Stephen Brumfield. So I think this time, surely, Sol is going to be a sitting duck, has to go a little bit defensive as well. Eichenberg dropping a little bit behind. You can see he's left a bit of a gap. Will have some tremendous momentum going into this chicane. However, he's not going to quite catch these guys in time. Should be able to pick up the pieces should there be an incident. Humphrey miles ahead of these drivers at the moment. Here comes Anja. just about keeps his nose on the inside there, and having to leave him room in the end was Joe Saul. And I think Saul is going to lose this place now to Dennis Eichenberg as well, moves ahead, and now another car and another car as well. Oh, well, it was valiant defense whilst it lasted for Joe Saul, but it seems as though his defense has come to an end.
In the ARL TCR, we call that a good old-fashioned freight training. We've got a feel for Sol. He done so well holding these guys up for as long as he did, but once those floodgates open, you're just helpless. So unlucky for him. Unlucky, but he's still in second in the AM category, which is good. Now we'll have to see if Andrew Eichenberg, Roland and Andre can close the gap to Humphrey, who has a significant lead, 7.5 seconds.
Yeah, and setting high 16s, the check a lot warmer than it was in race 1, up to 33 degrees. And, well, to be fair, it can't be that much warmer. So, by the way, in race 1, they were lapping in the low 15s at times. Andrew's fast lap is 15.6. So that's an ominous sign for Humphrey, who may start losing upwards of a second a lap. But has done everything he can do at the moment as the amateur driver. And at least an amateur win looks almost guaranteed as long as there's not an incident that he's involved in. Damien Harris leading lots of cars. He's 5 seconds behind Ronald Moons, that whole big pack of cars. But here he is, 7 tenths of a second ahead of Aaron Powell. 15 places gained for Damien Harris. Great performance.
He's, for me personally, he's a name that's pretty much come out of nowhere. He seems to be racing in all of the leagues that I take interest in, and seems to be doing pretty well in them all. He had a solid race 1, if I recall. Yeah, he's looking to really kind of solidify his claim in this race. See if he can close the gap up to Moons, and yeah, it seems to be dropping the guys behind him pretty well.
Loureiro falling offline, and Caroni. Yeah, Caroni's in this race. He crashed, of course, almost immediately. I'm not sure if Sam Kumo, perhaps, of course, he's already doing a lot of stuff at the camera. So if we go back to that big shunt we saw at the chicane on lap 3, of course, we have an events viewer where it kind of lists all the collisions and such, and there have been plenty of collisions since. As I say, that Nick Rowland has just moved up into 3rd place, past Dennis Eichenberg. Eichenberg comes back though, better run for the Stats Light racing car.
Just behind them, Moons had taken a position on Sol going into that final chicane as well.
Yep. So Roland did. Andrew as well gets him past Eichenberg then. So the Stats Light guys back up to 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. And then, of course, we've also got Jawad Karoni in 12th place. So this was lap 1. I think that big... this is what happened to Karoni then. I think earlier on. Did well to keep out of the walls, jeez. Oh, he did hit the wall. So Humphrey now 5.5 seconds ahead of Syanja. With Roland another 2 seconds back. Harris still leading this big train of cars. Karoni. Next up for him is Daniel Lee.
Another 1.3 seconds taken out of Humphrey that lap by Andre.
Yeah.
That's looking ominous, isn't it?
It's inevitable that he's going to be caught, so I guess it's you may as well set up the shields for when the inevitable happens, seeing that we're only 15 minutes into this race. We're not even close to half race distance. Christoph Adriano with a little bit of an issue further down the order, but I think we'll stick with this battle. Daniel Lee wants to get past Pal. It's either attack or be attacked, or probably those two things in synchronization.
what he doesn't want to do is put himself into a position where he can be easily taken by Caroni. The trouble is, the guy in front, Powell, will move to the inside to try and cover him, or as we see, Lee's having a little look now. If he doesn't get this right, Caroni's going to be there to take him on the right-hander. But no, Lee's holding it around the outside. They both run a little bit wide, and Caroni's getting all sorts of interested. Oh, was that a bit of contact?
Is he going to be overtaken now? Yes, he is. Oh, and off goes Caroni. And that was Loureiro seeing the opportunity and getting past. I think he understeered a bit into his rival, though, there did Loureiro. And it was looking like it could be 2 places gained for Caroni. In the end, it's 1 place lost. I don't think it's going to be lost for very long, though, because he has already got past Loureiro in this race. He's going to have to do it again, it seems.
He didn't seem too happy, did he? Flashing his lights straight after that. But as you say, he's already made the pass on Loureiro once. So, yeah, he should be able to get it done again. Good job from Lee, I have to say. Currently 3rd in the standings. He looked good in the first race and then had a couple of incidents that really put pay to it. So good to see him having a solid run. And I hope that's not the second curse.
Well, we're approaching the chicane, which can be a trouble spot. Seems as though he's negotiated that one quite well, though. Also got another battle with McMahon behind these guys. So we've got Caroni at the back of this pack, and then we've got 4 seconds back to Warren, and then it's 1 second back to McMahon, who's just got past Jonathan Kearns, and now Jonathan Kearns is going to be overtaken by Craig Jones, and now Tom Stevens as well, and Derek Collins. Poor Jonathan Kearns, honestly, that was, I think that's literally 4 places lost in a third of a lap.
Easily done.
Bit spread out now out of the top 8. Roland and Eipenberger quite close, but spread out apart from that. As Joe Saul has just been overtaken by Damien Harris, so Harris now up into 8th place. Joint most places gained for Harris. Some championships actually have a bonus for the most places gained, I believe. I think even does ARLTC have a bonus for that? I'm not quite sure.
No, I don't think they do. If they do, I've not seen it or heard of it. Sometimes I wish they did. Take all the points I could get out of that league. Another second, Andra taken out of Humphrey there. He's right behind him. 1 more lap and he should be in the slipstream, you would imagine. Is Daniel Lee having to go defensive from Powell?
Good defence there from Lee. Oh, Smith's off. And now turning back to the pits. Didn't see too much damage on that car. We've had a few retirees already so far in this race. Dion Phillips and Kevin Boland, Jesse Payne-Wilkins. Maybe Smith will be an addition to this list.
Oh, he's just turned in, but you've got a car on the inside, you have to give a little bit of room. Even if they've only got a little bit of the car alongside. As we know, this is sim racing and you have to give a little bit of room, because otherwise you can get turned around very easily.
Well, shove there for Loureiro. Loureiro and Caroni, I mean, just watch these guys all day long. Caroni, I think that damage is really costing him because he's not making any progress at the moment. And he's got Tom McMahon 5 seconds behind. You'll just see McMahon go over the crest. He's going to be on these guys certainly by the end of the race. And now here comes Caroni down the inside. Nice move. And now he can set his sights on the 2 drivers that he should have got past ages ago. Powell and Lee, who have now caught up to Joseph Saul, who's struggling for paces. Saul, I remember, was up in fought for 2nd place for a decent amount of time, but a few seconds off the properly quick guys, and he has just lost a place to Daniel Lee. Next up, Aaron Powell, but you can't get past on this part of the circuit. And Caroni with a big slide. Is that going to be a slowdown potentially? He took a lot of the grass, and that car is a real handful. Can we get an onboard perhaps of Caroni? See if there's a little bit of damage to his steering. This doesn't seem too bad. Maybe just overdriving him.
I would imagine that he wouldn't be happy sitting down in 12th place. He's been involved quite a lot. As Andra making a move for the lead now. And Humphrey just lets him go. There wasn't even a defence there from Humphrey. Although Andra's gone deep into the corner. It doesn't look like Humphrey's... Oh, he is going to send one back up the inside into the last corner. Ask the question of Andra. But no, Andra just filters in front.
That happened very quickly. Another 1.2 seconds gained on that last lap by Cyandra. And now 17 places gained for the driver. He finished in 2nd place in race 1. Looks as though it's going to be another fantastic points haul for him. Enric Andre will be next. Another 0.4 of a second behind. He wants to stay in the draft of his teammates. I doubt Humphrey will be able to stick with these guys even with the tow.
I have to admit, when they come down to that chicane, it looked like Humphrey was just letting it go, minimising his time loss and accepting that he wasn't going to win the race outright. But then he started fighting back, which got me quite excited, I have to admit.
Yeah, you almost got the cutback perfect, but so slow was Anja that it was very tricky to kind of accelerate early without having to stamp on the brakes. Here comes Andre then, and I think this will be just as easy, if not even easier than it was on the last lap. And Humphrey a little bit earlier on the brakes, and moving past then is Enric Andre. Only half a second off Anja. He's in the slipstream, and he should be able to stick with his teammate now, so that should be a good duel for the race win, and Humphrey still with a chance of getting that 3rd place. Saul going mega defensive meanwhile against Jawad Karoni, and Loureiro is still with these guys. And I'm sure Karoni's just saying, go away to Loureiro. He's caused him enough bother already today. But that straight line speed for Karoni is really hindering his overtaking opportunities. Here he goes down the inside into turn 1, forcing that car down the inside, and Loureiro can't get past. So perhaps an opportunity now for the Satsite Racing driver to make a break for it, build a gap. Yeah, Loureiro losing quite a bit of time through those few corners.
It does seem every time we come back to Karoni, there's another dent on the car somewhere. I didn't notice the ones on the back up until just a moment ago. He's really wrestling the car through the field, isn't he? Or trying to, at least. Up 8 places, of course.
Yeah, he really is. Loureiro's got a decently clean car. I think he has made contact a couple of times so far today. But that straight line speed doesn't look too bad for him. Moves alongside the B team driver. Doesn't go all the way to the right of the circuit there, Loureiro, which is a bit of an intimidating move. Very much saying, you'll change your line rather than me changing my line. It works for Loureiro. It's up into 12th place now. Tom McMahon 3 seconds behind these guys. What are McMahon's lap times? That last lap time for McMahon was underwhelming, to say the least. Yeah, McMahon's struggling a bit. Perhaps a bit of damage on that car. Yeah, had that big off straight away in this race, and it seems to be losing him close to a second a lap.
The front of that car looking suitably rippled. I haven't driven much of the BMW, so I don't know how much the damage really affects it. I know most cars on the service they will suffer from straight line issues, but I don't know whether it struggles with handling as well. Definitely very rumpled.
Definitely. I doubt Adrian Newey is quite convinced by that design. McMahon, who won Road Atlanta Race 2 last season in the American GT Championship. Won a few rounds, I think. I think he won 2 or 3. I think they were all Race 2s. Yeah, he didn't have a great start to the season. The Mark Fletcher won the championship after winning 1 race, which is insane. Side by side for the leads, Anja versus Andre. And it's Cyandra who has moved into the lead, I believe. I'm not sure who it was leading before. Sorry, Anja, maintaining the lead ahead of Andre. So that was a defensive move for him. However, this one will, it doesn't really matter who's ahead. Track position, I don't think it's too important around this track. It's going to be making as little mistakes as he possibly can. And just making sure that you're within the draft and making sure that you're in a good position going into the last couple of laps of the race. They're only 2 seconds ahead of Bob Humphrey, so he can't afford a big incident as Anja breaking the draft.
I wonder if this is just them having a bit of fun. I guess they race with each other all the time. I don't think that, given the nature of their team, I don't think they'll be taking this as serious as other races that they do. So I wonder if they're just going out there, letting their hair down, having a bit of fun, seeing if they can get one over on each other. Either way, it's great to watch.
It really is. And we can kind of rely on these guys producing this great action as long as they stick with the series for the foreseeable future, seeing that they are so evenly matched. And throwing Coroni, throwing Roland occasionally as well. Yeah, fantastic battling amongst these guys.
Well, the depth as well. It goes all the way down to Warren as well. He's obviously a satellite driver as well. We see how well he does in the AM category.
Yeah, definitely. Where is Warren at the moment?
P16.
16, yeah. Started third. He was one of the drivers who was involved in that crash at the chicane, wasn't he?
He was, yes.
On lap 2 or 3. I think he was like one of the first drivers to be involved in that. And you can see quite a bit of damage on that car. Because like I said a couple of times, can take a fast repair, can these drivers? But no normal pit stop. These drivers don't have to pit. No limited fuel tank. They can comfortably do this 40-minute race and the 25-minute race earlier on 1 tank of fuel. Have to get the moves done on circuit rather than in the pit lane. Daniel Lee putting his car in the middle of the circuit to defend for Ampal. I think, as we've seen a few times today, another when not if battle. Quite noticeable that Lee is going to be overtaken, I think, by Powell, who's been setting lap times some second a lap faster than the Danny Lee racing driver.
It looks like Jesse Payne Wilkins had some big issues just a moment ago. I see a few flashes of red. There he is, looking very crumpled indeed.
He's almost 2 laps down, and if you finish 2 laps down, you don't score any points. So I'm not sure if this is going to yield any type of result for Jesse Payne Wilkins.
Just caught the curb going through the S's, and yeah, as soon as you unsettle the car there, you're getting the swapper all the way to the wall. Very unfortunate.
See if he has to take a pit stop for that. You'd expect he will have to. Nick Rowland has got past Bob Humphrey, so that's now up into 3rd place is Rowland. However, Humphrey might be able to stay with him in the draft. I mean, he will have to set some very good lap times. But the draft around this circuit, if you're close enough, probably worth probably 3 or 4 tenths a lap. To be fair, Rowland has been lapping at least on that last tour 6 tenths of a second faster, so he should be able to get the Evo SR driver. But next up will be Brumfield and also Eipenberg. But Humphrey has a 15-second lead to Daniel Lee, who's 2nd place out of the amateur drivers. So still looking like it will be a good points haul for the 236.
I don't think that the time delta between Humphrey and Rowland was as big as it was for Andrew and Andre. So he's got a chance if he can stay sort of reasonably close through the first part of the lap. The toe down this back straight should bring him back, but he might have already lost it now. He's falling back already. Shame for Humphrey, but as you say, he's still got a big gap over Lee, so he's still on for some very, very good AM points.
Yeah, already 8 tenths of a second. Gains, well, it was 9.5 tenths, so he gained, a tenth and a half. So it's clearly the stitching was still helping him, however, is dropping back quite quick. Of course, if you want to check out the live timing, do check out the description provided by SDK Gaming. They have a live timing link in there. You can see the last lap for the drivers, last lap time, their best lap time, the intervals between each of the drivers, how many laps they've done. The pit stops data isn't particularly interesting, but certainly the intervals is very useful. Just looking at this screen, of course, you can see how close the top 2 are. 3 tenths of a second. You can kind of see that for yourself, to be honest. On that last lap, Anja was 1/100th of a second faster.
Sorry, yeah, I was just about to say, can we highlight the fact that they were 1/100th apart for that entire lap, which is just insanity. And he's still trying to break the tub, is Andrew. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, Andre having a little flash at him now. Yeah, these guys are enjoying themselves out there, aren't they?
I think one of these guys put in the Discord earlier on in the driver's chat how he's waiting for his teammates to protest one another after the last corner collision that we saw between Karoni and I think it was Anja who he made contact with for the win of race 1. I think it was Andre who posted that message. Not sure if that was. I guess that was quite in a joking manner, but certainly a decent amount at stake here. So he's going to potentially lead the championship coming out of this meeting 2 of the season. Lee is under pressure from Powell still. Moon's also under pressure from Harris, as John Chessiter has had an issue. Could be an issue for Karoni as well soon, because he was trying to get past Powell on that occasion. But yeah, Chessiter, has he got back going? Adriano now off the circuit as the leaders move past.
Yeah, looks like he's just had an issue coming onto the back straight.
Oh, through goes Andre for the lead. Anja loses the lead for the first time in this race. Regains it straight away though. That momentum should carry him ahead. Oh, don't take each other out, guys.
Wow.
I mean, at least if they do take each other out, the Satellite Racing will probably still win the race with Nick Rowland. But still, you want to lock out the podium places.
I don't even know why I hold my breath anymore. Like, last week we saw them going into the bus stop at Watkins Glen, side by side, bumper to bumper, millimetres apart. And today we've seen what can happen. You know, when you come together at that last corner. The fact they're still willing to do it, and that's Powell running wide at turn 1.
And that was him battling with Karoni, I think. Here is Karoni. Uh-oh. Daniel Lee had already been able to pull away a decent amount. Is there contact? Oh, Karoni just... well, it's a bit of a slide there. And Powell skimming the wall. Won't be too much damage on that machine. He hasn't actually dropped too many places. In fact, Karoni... Oh, great sportsmanship here from Karoni to let him back pass. I wasn't sure if it was fully Karoni's fault. I mean, he went for a legit move down the inside. Messed it up slightly, but... you could understand that if it was called a racing incident. Instead, Karoni giving back the place, and now McMahon is involved as well. And this is one of the battles that we want to see. All these guys with damage by all kinds of incidents. Karoni goes to the inside. Powell tries to cover it off. It's no use. Has he still got part of his car on the inside? No, he doesn't. Karoni cuts the line. And now McMahon will move past his teammate as well. But good job there from Jawad.
Yeah, I tip my hat to Karoni. Again, like you, I would have said that was probably just a racing incident. He got a bit of a slide. As we see McMahon having another look at Powell. Sorry, Powell having another look at McMahon. But McMahon carries the momentum around the outside. Yeah, that was good sportsmanship from Karoni. He's certainly had his issues, as Jonathan Kearns has had an incident.
Oh, and Holland as well has spun off in sympathy. So John Gordon. Oh, well, look at the other cars going through. Where are the race leaders in this? No, the race leaders still got a little bit further to go. These drivers love the alternate circuit. I swear some of these guys spent longer on the alternate track than they have on the full circuit, as this is called. Oh, I think Kearns just... Oh, wow, that's a foul flip, isn't it? Jeez.
He made it all the way down to the apex of the final corner with that roll. It looked like he just got a little bit loose coming over the top as Andre and Andrew are battling again into turn 1. Do I hold my breath at the top of the hill, or are they going to be sensible? They're sensible, that's a relief.
I think that's Anja moving past... Andre moving past Anja, and honestly, why are they named so similarly? There's literally 1 letter difference.
I thought that had already happened.
No, I think the last time Anja nearly got past Andre got. Sorry,
Oh, he fought back, didn't he? He
got
got it
back
back.
straight
Yeah.
straight away, didn't he? So this is the first time that Andre has got the proper lead. I am tempted just to call them Enric and Sai, to be honest, because Andre and Anja is too similar. It's too similar. Hopefully you're not getting confused at home. I'm sure you're not. At least we're not using the three initials at the starts of the name. Can cause some issues, especially when we're commentating on Sim Racers World, where half the drivers have a van at the starts of their names, as many Dutch and Belgian people do. Not such an issue in this series. So Andre's hanging on. Roland, how much faster is Roland on this lap? He gains. It's not a big gap. Up 3/10 on that last lap, closing in on these two other drivers, and that was when these guys were fighting. So don't hold up too much hope for Roland to close that gap by the end. Edwards has had an issue, and Nick as well.
Humphrey putting in a better lap that time round as Edwards parks up and returns to the pits. Yeah, Humphrey a 10th quicker than Eichenberg on that last lap, so it looks like he's managing to keep his gap. Oh, poor old Frederick. Serious steering damage there. I wonder if he's just lost it coming over the top there. You said at the top of the show, what a tricky corner that is. If you get it just millimeters wrong, you're on that inside wall. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, it's been surprising how few issues there's been around there. Turn 1, I think, has probably been the big problem spot. I think the chicane as well. We had one big collision earlier on. And also the final corner, actually, we've seen a lot of crashes. So, surprisingly, the Cresta on the safer zones on the circuit. The Marshals probably having a slightly easier day than they originally thought. That is Humphrey getting, holding off Eichenberg, I think, or has he just got past?
No, he was ahead of Eichenberg. I think Eichenberg is just putting the pressure on a little bit more now, just starting to ask some questions of Humphrey. Really impressed with how Humphrey's been dealing with the traffic this race. He's realised he's not racing those front guys. He let them go. Had a little look back at Andre, I think it was, but he's just been doing his own race. Running the pace he's comfortable at and reaping the rewards at the moment.
And as you can see from the relative, or from the battle box in the bottom right corner, the driver battling with them is Stevens, who's a lap down. That was wide for Andre. Stays ahead though of Anja. Oh, that was pretty close to losing the race lead. As now, so that was earlier on in the lap, I think. Andre on the inside of Anja.
I have a feeling these guys are going to be going all the way to the end. We've only got around 90 seconds left-ish.
Yes.
So,
Once again, I thought that this race was 45 minutes. And that is pretty mind-boggling how I could make that mistake once again, just like in Watkins Glen. Roland down to 2.2, so he was half a second faster on that last lap. He's not going to quite make it, but he wants to be there, at least, to pick up the pieces wide for Andre. Do you want to be leading going on to the last lap? Well, here we are again, side by side. They seem to want to lead, at least with the way that they've been fighting. Oh, having to turn out of the corner there was Andre, and it's Anja back into the lead. 1.4 seconds now back to Roland.
I would be saying definitely you want to be in second coming down onto this back straight. At least you've got the chance of the toe and the overtake. If your defence is good enough and you're confident in it, then sure, you're first place. But as you can see now, Andre having looked to the outside. Andre going defensive.
Oh, glitching out as well. And has he pulled a bit of a gap there, has Anja? Half a second. And now, this is going to be tricky for Andre to be able to close the gap down going onto the back straight. 0.8 of a second now, Roland is sitting behind these guys. He gained a second and a half on these two drivers on that last tour. 1 lap to go. We just about managed to fit in that last lap. Brumfield's only 3 seconds behind as well, catching rapidly. And look at the first few corners of this lap for Enric Andre. Well done to him. I mean, the gap was up to half a second, but he's got it back down to 2/10 and a bit wide for the leading driver once again, Andrea. And we'll see if your hypothesis is correct, Adam. Do they want to be the second place driver? Is this the place to be for Enric Andre as he comes out onto the back straight? The gap is 0.3 of a second. We're seeing these guys break the draft bias weaving all race long. Not a whole lot of weaving though this time. Gets to the outside, which will turn into the inside. Does Cyanja. The battle for race 2 victory for round 4 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. Round the outside goes Andre. Has he got the shorter run to the line? Can he get the run to the line to get to the checker flag first? It doesn't look like it's going to happen for him. Side by side across the checker flag, and it is Cyanja who wins race 2. Enric Andre in second place. What a brilliant performance from those two drivers, and it's Anja getting his second race win of his second race win of the season, I believe. Nick Rowland finishes in third place. Top of the amateur drivers will be Bob Humphrey. Congratulations to Humphrey. And we've still got Warren versus Holland. Holland catching in his Porsche. Can he outbrake his rival going into the chicane? It's all or nothing, surely. Warren just putting his car into the middle of the track. Not particularly going to be a good run to the line here. Much overspeed for Holland. Can he close in enough? It's not going to be enough. The start-finish line comes up quick here at Red Atlanta. And Holland will finish in 17th place. What a brilliant duel once again, though, from Anja and Andre. It was really a 50-50. Both of them deserved the win, but in the end it was just Anja by less than half a tenth.
I've just got one word for that final sector there. Mega. Amazing driving from both of them. Respectful. They gave each other just enough room. Neither of them were really willing to give it up. That's such a great finish and deserving from a great race. Incidentally, Andra gained 17 places to take that win, and Andre gained 15, coming second. So 2 mega drives there from both of them.
Yeah, it was insanely impressive from the pair of those drivers. And Andre will be a little bit frustrated. I believe he was leading the majority of race 1, and then finished in third position on that occasion. Then led parts of that race as well. So finishes in second. Still good points though, and those guys with a comfortable lead now in the championship going into Sebring in a week's time. But before that, we'll go through the final results, and it is Cyanja who wins out by half a tenth of a second ahead of Enric Andre. Nick Rowland 7/10 of a second off in the end in third. Great drive from Stephen Brumfield. We didn't see too much of him, but only 4.4 seconds off the lead in fourth place. Dennis Eipenberg rounded out the top 5. Then top of the AM drivers was Bob Humphrey. Daniel Lee was really close to Bob Humphrey in the end. I swear that gap was like 12 seconds at one point. He was catching. And a few more laps. The driver who starts in 20th place could have well put on a charge, but a very impressive debut for Daniel Lee there. Ronald Moons, quiet drive for him, but 8th place. Good points. Damian Harris was storming through the field, up 15 places to 9th. Tiago Lavero was in the wards. He finished in 10th place, remarkably, where he started. Jawad Karoni with damage that he picked up early on finishes in 11th. Aaron Powell in 12th. Tom McMahon finishes in 13th place. Must have had a couple of issues near the end, I think, McMahon. Joseph Saul, who started on pole, finishes in 14th. Then it was Craig Jones, Brandon Warren, Derek Holland, John Tressida, Kev Copeland, Jonathan Kearns, John Gordon was the last driver on the lead lap. One lap down was Tom Stevens and Christoph Adriano. And then the drivers who will not score points will be Frederick Nicht, Taj Edwards, Jesse Payne Wilkins, Paul Smith, Kevin Boland, and Dion Phillips. So, interviews. Last week we didn't get many interviews, and we're not getting many interviews again. Shocking stuff. However, Adam, we can look forward to next week. Sebring, will be the host for meeting 3 of the season. Going to be a good preparation, I guess, for these guys for the 12 hours event.
It will be, yes. It's a bit of a Marmite track, to be honest. The circles that I dwell in, some people absolutely love it, think it's a brilliant track. Others not so keen with the bumpy runway-style concrete at the last corner and first corner. Either way, it usually throws up some good racing. There's a few great overtaking spots. Nice long straight to get some draft on. It should be good. I hope it's going to be good.
Yeah, really, fingers crossed. Hopefully we have a couple more superb races. So we've got a few interviews we can do. All Satellite drivers again. Anyone who wants to have an interview, please do. We love having a chat with you guys. There'll be maybe Sam will post a link in the YouTube chats, and yeah, you're always welcome to have a chat with us after the race. First up, then, I think we will have a chat with Sai Anja, who finished top of the drivers in race 2. Congratulations, Sai. First and second place. I believe you're already leading the championship. You must be very pleased.
Very happy and also very tired, considering that last couple of laps with the Narek. I shouldn't be, but I'm a little bit thankful he had damage, otherwise he would have been past me and gone. But, consistency pays off, so I think I'm happy with where I ended up on the championship table.
Absolutely. Take us through race 1. I believe you were running in 4th place on the most part. You can't just watching everything go ahead, and in the end you managed to get second place. So it must have been entertaining to see the Karoni and Andre batting ahead of you.
I mean, since they're my teammates, it was a little bit bittersweet, but it's always feels, well, not good, but it feels satisfying waiting out your competitors and seeing them make mistakes. At the same time, basically, I think I kept my front tires alive better than anybody else, and that's how I got past Tom. And basically kept me in the competition going into that final lap.
Yeah, and then race 2, you got yourself into the lead. We'll take us through the start at least, because I mean a lot of stuff was going on up and down the order, and you just seemed to streamline straight through it. You got yourself ahead of your teammates. How did that happen?
A lot of defensive driving, to be sure, and also a little bit of basically yelling and screaming on the Discord when I saw the lap 2 incident in the chicane, and I knew basically I had to straight line it. I think that's what saved me a lot of the damage that other people picked up. Besides that, I think it was just, staying patient. It's a 40-minute race, and knowing that I had the speed to catch the leaders. At the same time, I needed to keep an eye on my teammates because Nick and Eric were right there at the end. So basically keeping myself clean the whole time.
Yeah, it was very smart driving out there, undoubtedly. And of course, next week is week 13. We'll have the new tyre model. Are you excited about that? Are you skeptical? How are you thinking about the changes that are coming to these GTE cars?
It's going to be a coin toss. I think some cars have had implemented very well, other cars not so much. I think we'll see on Tuesday when the patch drops, but past that, I'm hopeful. Like, I have a little bit of hope, and hoping that these cars bring a little bit more dynamic tire wear into them. Because right now, I think the times are pretty much consistent from the beginning to the end. And I think we can have some tire games next week.
Yeah, very much looking forward to that one. Thanks for having a chat with us, Sai. Is there anyone you'd like to have, anyone you'd like to give thanks to before we say goodbye?
Thanks to Eric, obviously, for helping me build the BMW setup for this week. Thanks to Nick, Jawad, and Brandon for running together as a team, having a blast today, basically. For sponsors, Track Racer, Ellis Engineering, and I'd say that's about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having a chat with us, Sai, and best of luck for Sebring in 1 week's time.
Thank you.
So that was Sai Anja, second and first place finisher today, undoubtedly the most amount of points scored by any driver. Adam, who would you like to have a chat with next?
You know what? I fancy having a chat with Nick Rowland. And here he is. Hi, Nick. Welcome to the booth. How was tonight for you?
It was pretty good. Race 1 was an adventure coming from pit lane after my my first race of the season wasn't so great, but it was definitely an adventure to go from pit lane to, I think it was 12th in race 1. And then race 2 was a bit chaotic in the chicane on lap 2. Got a bit of damage on the front end, unfortunately. But other than that, it was good. And I just try to be patient with my tyres more. So I've been a little bit better on front tyre wear than the other guys. So I try to just use my pace towards the end.
Oh, you certainly seem to do that in the second race. Just talking about that penalty you picked up from the last round, how did it change your mindset coming into this race, knowing that you'd have to fight essentially from the back?
I guess I didn't do anything qualifying wise. I was just totally focused on race, so I very much tried to focus everything I could. And I knew that coming from pit lane, I would need to try and make as much ground sort of like on that opening lap as I could. So I was doing a lot of work on sort of first lap pace as well. And I pretty much caught the train at the end of the first lap. And then it was just navigating my way through thereafter. And yeah, trying to be as clean as possible.
Well, you've certainly done that. Okay, so race 2, again, you're back where you should be, more or less. You've got your teammates around you. Do you guys kind of talk through your strategy as you go, given it's a 40-minute race, or do you just kind of run where you run and see where you end up?
Well, we got no team orders in particular. We just try and run where we run, and then towards the end, it's you can battle as much as you want, really. But I thought it was good between us. We communicated well. It was very clear that Eric was running faster than me at the time, so I just kind of let him go, and then it was just between him and Sai. And then I thought, okay, well, just try and create the rhythm that I knew that I could get with the front tyres. And then towards the end, I don't know if it was the excessive amount of battling or the tyre wear, but I was able to close the gap back up to them, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, we saw that on the on the broadcast. You suddenly came from well, you wasn't that far behind, but you did close a gap. Although I do think them battling certainly helped towards that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sebring next week. How do you feel about that?
I love the track. I've always loved the track. I've done it a lot in prototypes. I think it's an awesome track to drive. I haven't done it massively in GT, so I'm expecting an even bumpier ride. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It's a cool place to run.
Excellent. Well, hopefully you have a good run out next week. Before we let you go, do you want to say thank you to any of your sponsors or teammates or whoever?
Yeah, Track Race and Else Engineering, obviously massive thank you to those guys, and then the entire team. It's great to work with these guys. We split the cars, so Jawad's done more work with me, so I greatly appreciate his work. But I think across the 5 drivers, we're all trying to support and help each other. So yeah, thanks to the entire team.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Nick, and we'll see you next week at Sebring.
Yeah, thanks very much to you guys as well. Cheers.
So that was Nick Rowlands, who finished in 3rd place in race 2, and I believe in 11th place in race 1. We'll have one last interview, and that will be with Brandon Warren, who had a decent result today. A couple of 16th places, I believe, for Brandon today. Congratulations, and yeah, take us through how was the racing today at Road Atlanta. It looks pretty action-packed.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess it seemed to have a curse when it comes to qualifying, because that's 2 races in a row where I either messed up my lap or I just bend it. Getting a little bit excited here, I guess, but I'm not really used to iRacing as much. I'm coming from R Factor, so I'm still trying to get used to the way the braking works and with the car and everything, but my teammates have been a big help with me. In terms of the race, I would say that first race was pretty exciting, to say the least. In fact, I've done a lot of endurance racing, and I felt more tired from that first race than I did doing 3-hour stints in an endurance race before. So that was, that was pretty exciting. Going through the field, the car felt good, especially in the first race. Had to avoid a few incidents here and there. I think I got myself up into 3rd, and just right at the end, I just got too hard on the brakes. It caused my rear end to come out, and then I had to put the car into the grass. And luckily, I was able to gain back a couple positions I lost right before the end, but it could have been better. So I was a little bit disappointed in myself for that. Especially, I felt like that I had the speed to at least be at the top of the amateur class. With the other race, at first I was was really mad about that. I don't know, I didn't know what happened. I felt like I was dive bomb a bit, but Paul did a fair move, I think, and it was just one of those incidents where I didn't see him at all. He was in a blind spot of mine. I didn't know he was going for it, and I kind of just shut the door on him, and then that's what hit the whole incident. So apologies for that, definitely. And then the rest of the race after that was just dealing with damage, and I had a nice back and forth battle for several laps where somebody was gaining a position and I was gaining a position. But yeah, unfortunately, there's some things I learned. Hopefully I can get it together for next race and just stay out of trouble, really. If I just stay out of trouble, I think I'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of the points, you must be pretty near the top of the championship after a really good Watkins Glen rounds last time out. So how much are you thinking about the points? Are you concerned too much about those that element too much, or are you just taking it one race at a time, just trying to get the best result you possibly can?
I will say that before the race starts, I'm concerned about the points. And after the race ends, I'm concerned about the points. But in the middle of the race, I really don't think about that too much, and I really should. Because a lot of times, for instance, at Watkins Glen, I had no idea I even hit the top of the amateur class until like 10 minutes after the race had ended. Somebody's like, "Oh, hey, congratulations." I'm like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, I didn't even realize that I had won in that class." So I just try. I think it's more of a one race at a time, but I'm keeping in mind the overall championship, and hopefully, like I said, if we're gonna stay out of trouble, I'll be fine. I think I've got a good shot, but we've got some good drivers amongst my peers in the amateur class.
Absolutely. And next week we head to Sebring, bit of a preparation event perhaps for the 12 hours. Have you done? Are you particularly excited about the 12 hours? Are you taking part in it?
So I also race in VEC and R Factor 2. So we'll be racing at Sebring. So I'll be doing a 12-hour race Saturday, and then switching over and trying to get my mind off of the braking, how it works there, on into R Factor. But I'll be in a GTE car, so hopefully the bumps and everything kind of translate just fine. But I think I'll be all right. I think I'll have my fill of Sebring next weekend for sure.
Absolutely. Well, we wish you the best of luck for that extra event on our factor, and also in this league as well. Before we let you go, Brandon, is there any shout outs you'd like to give anyone?
Oh man, I guess all the other guys kind of shouted out to track race, it's engineering, blah 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 blah, Pepsi Cola, all that type of stuff. I guess I'm American, so I gotta say I want to thank my sponsors now. I just shout out to my teammates. They've been very helpful. I know they say that we're all trying to help each other out, but really they've been helping me get me introduced into iRacing proper, and they've been a big help to me, and hopefully I can get to a position where my input is helping them out. So yeah, real shout out to them, and a shout out to all the drivers in the Apex Racing League. You guys have thoroughly impressed me, and I hope that these good driving standards hold for the season ahead.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having a chat with us, Brandon, and best of luck for next week.
Yeah, thanks, man. See y'all later.
So that was Brandon Warren finishing in 17th place in race 1 and 16th place in race 2. So I think that's pretty much all the action complete. Adam, just a quick word to round off today. Really tight passing once again. I mean, not the absolute biggest field out there, but it does really feel as though every driver has 5 or 6 drivers who they can race with, just outs and outs on pace. I mean, there's really not a dull part of the grid whatsoever.
There's nothing worse than turning up to a race and then not racing. You're on your own, or you're in a gap somewhere. all of the time tonight, there was always somebody having a battle with someone else. The level of the drivers, it's not just fast drivers and slow drivers. There's drivers of all abilities here, all having races against each other, and by the sound of the interviews we've been having a whale of a time doing it, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Absolutely. So we'll be back for Sebring for round 3 of the championship. That will be next Sunday, of course, at the same time, because if you want to sign up for the championship, a few places available. You can find out details on that on Apex Racing League, along with the Touring Car Championship as well that we're about to start up again. That will be Thursday evenings, and also we've got a Sebring 2 hours event coming up next Saturday as well. So I certainly do recommend checking out that website for all those sign up details. And of course, if you've enjoyed this video, do leave it a like. We would mega appreciate it. And of course, do subscribe as well to Apex Racing TV and the iRacing Esports Network, because there's plenty of events coming up. Maybe week 13, not quite so much stuff going on, but certainly off the top of my head, I can think of AOSC will be on a Friday morning for us Europeans, Friday evening for Australians, and then we'll have the UOV8 Supercars on Saturday evening, and of course you'll be back with us on Sunday evening for meeting 3 of the Apex Racing League GT Championship. But from me, and from Adam, and from Sam, we're going to say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.